Welcome back to the Arbitrage Run Show with your host Donkey Teeth and Kevin from Arbitrage Racing. What's happening, Kevin? Back from the big honeymoon. We've missed you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, still adjusting to back to Eastern time, but it was fun being down under with some of our mates, as they say down there.
Yeah, did you beat Alhambrin?
It depends if you're talking handicap or straight up. Straight up, yes. Handicap, he took me down on the last hole.
That's all that matters.
I almost backdoored him with the birdie finish, but I think everybody saw that putt that my caddy just read terribly. My caddy being myself, and yeah, lost on that. But
he couldn't get you a caddy out there. What the hell?
No, I know he had his brother out there like reading everything. Get a blast up. It was awesome.
Yeah, glad you guys had a good time. I mean, you're a machine because like you didn't even come back that long ago, and you had like a 40-hour travel day. And now you're just back to racing horses and recording ZED.run shows.
Yeah, like we never left. I am gonna miss the 24-hour a day coverage we had with me in Australia. That was fun. Even I tried to slip in a few races without making the wife too mad on the honeymoon. But yeah, it seems like you did well without me.
It was a struggle. I mean, I think I did well, but there was a couple days where it was just like. I just can't figure out how you do it. Like it felt so draining, always having to look at it. I don't know, full-time job, man.
That's full-time, part-time.
But yeah, it went well, and we're glad to have you back. I don't know. You said you caught the first show that I recorded with Keith, where he was like totally down on Zed, right?
Yeah, I had to watch that one, right? I know I had talked with Keith before that, so I kind of knew what he was going to say for the most part, but. I think it was a great conversation. I look forward to catching the other one with Souls probably later this weekend.
Well, we're gonna, instead of like rehashing all of that, we're gonna go over a little bit of the Maiden stuff on this show. We're gonna talk a little bit about, well, the stamina update came when you were gone. We can just actually talk about that off the bat, and then we'll dive in on a little bit of aging talk because it sounds like should be right around the corner, and probably a little bit of a short show so you can get some rest. But stamina, yeah. How are you liking the new stamina rework with only 8 every 24 hours now?
I think it's good. I mean, first shout out to Zed. The conspiracy theorists will probably love that it happened as I was out of town, so it made it easier on you. So shout out to them for helping us out like that. Joking, of course, but yeah, I think the initial like reaction is. It's more intuitive, right? Like having the bar rather than the stupid percentage, which really never went below 90 if you were racing properly. And then the 3-hour recharge, I think, is a little more friendly to the grind than the 12-hour roll off, because the roll off would kind of require you to double dip if you wanted to do it optimally, which led to some really weird sleep schedules. We never really raced much more than 8 a day anyways. So I'd say from our like volume, it doesn't feel very different, but it's nice to not be getting like lapped left and right by the true grinders. And then I do think it sets them up really well in terms of whenever they release aging. We may talk about that later, to kind of build upon the recharge time. Maybe you decrease it as the horses get older. So I think it lays the foundation, even though we really don't feel much benefit right now in terms of like the field's weakening. I don't know. I haven't noticed much of it. I haven't felt like I needed to only race at a higher dollar, mainly because the volumes are, I mean, the volume races really is still kind of slow, especially in class 1. So not a ton of difference in that, but I do think it opens up the door to be more intuitive for new users and some things they can do with aging.
Yeah, I think, it'll be real interesting to see once you have that opportunity cost of aging, knowing that you're going to have a certain number of races and you can only get 8 in, or potentially it goes in half or whatever they said, and you get 4 in a day or something like that, then hopefully it starts to soften fields and, we get a lot more racing volume going on, opportunity for different horses and stuff like that. That's the dream anyway. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just so much easier. I don't know if we have anything else to say. Souls and I kind of talked about the stamina rework too.
No, it is nice. Like there's just little things that you kind of didn't realize you had to mentally adjust for with the other one, where just quality of life things where it's like, I can't remember if I entered 2 races with this horse or 1 race and it's sitting at 92%. Like, do I have to like go check and see if it's in races? And I got a little easier when they added the my racehorse feature filter in the lobby, but little things like that now I just don't have to worry. Like the little tick is super intuitive. I like that. So far so good. Even though I like I said, the immediate returns probably don't feel a ton different, but that, and then like there's things with flames, right? Where if you get like a weird flame in the past, it was like, oh, that probably was just fatigue. The other horse was fatigued, so you'd go check, and more than likely than not, it'd be confirmed that somebody just accidentally ran an extra race. But now, like there's no questions about is that flame due to fatigue or not. It's just a real flame, unless it's 6 gate, then it's probably a little weird.
Yeah, and well, you said that it happened like when you left. I think there was like the first half of the first week that you were gone was still the old stamina, and so we did have a few times where we were both entering races and suddenly the horse was at like 82% or 78%. So I was like,
poor Bloomo, I think got run down to like 78% one time because it was just on a heater and we were both feeling it and decided to max him out at like 90%.
Yeah, I was just blindly entering races at some point there. So
that's how you get the volume. You just hope. And now there's no risk, right? Like, so we'd be much better at it now. Now the risk is like, if you're having multiple people manage a stable, is to not like accidentally over enter a race. So I hope like the next evolution is, if we're going to have these rules on race caps, just hard code it in there, right? Like you do it for free races. You can't enter multiple. So if you have enough already entered, just make it where you can't enter that race again. That would just help a lot. I mean, first world problems, but I think that does come soon.
Yeah, totally agree. We need that. It's silly for them to have to like be manually tracking who's breaking the
Twitter
rules.
police, like just make it where you can actually like enforce it in the game, and then it's not an issue.
Yeah, totally. So the Maiden, we're gonna talk about the Maiden next. So the Maiden is the 1v1 Maiden just ran last night or 2 nights ago. I guess it was 2 nights ago. We're recording this on Thursday. And then we've got the winner take all Maiden, which will run tonight here in the US. So we didn't have a very good run in the 1v1. I think we qualified at what, like 4 horses. I realized while we were qualifying them, and I sent you this message, like, I think I made a mistake. I made a mistake with these breeds. I've read really good head-to-head horses for 1v1s, not realizing like it was going to be kind of tough to qualify in these 6 gates. And so they finished in like 2nd, 3rd, 4th place a lot, not a whole lot of wins. We got a few in, but you needed a little bit more variance. I would have liked to see the format be 1v1 in qualifying. I think that would be something fun in the future if they do decide to run it back, but learning lesson, I suppose.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I mean, it is a little edge, and like we were the victims of it this time, but like for someone who thought about it and kind of, like I say, like zig when others zag, is like everybody goes 1v1 without knowing, like you got to get to the dance for it to even matter. So you could almost read that little, I don't know, 50% variance type that can win those 6 gates, but also still be okay in 1v1s and hope you get a good level. And then those would just absolutely dominate 6 gate qualifying against the A shapers. So yeah, we might have missed a little bit, but I mean, we had 5 make it, and then just didn't get the right side of the coin flip, I think, on 4 of them. So we had 1 advance, but hey, the first Maiden, right, we flopped, and then the second Maiden we did really well. So maybe we're due for a big night tonight. Who knows?
I like our chances tonight. But we'll get to that, because like we're talking about these 1v1s and we didn't do very well, but some of the horses we bred did well. And I think the people who purchased them from us did a good job picking the right mold out because we listed we have the last 3 Maidens. We've listed every single horse for sale and then given everybody in Zed, the community, a chance to buy them. And we just run the ones that don't get purchased from, the top listing to the bottom. So they cherry picked some good ones, and we'll run through those really quick. There was 2 of them. These were all class 2 horses. So that was big prize pool. And 2 of them ended up winning. I think the sprint funnel and the marathon funnel in C2, they won the 1v1. And then another one took 2nd place in the mid funnel. So let me pull up those horses. So it's good to see that, something that we bred is doing well.
Yeah, I mean, props to them for doing the research, finding the good values, and then I mean, some of it's luck, but you kind of create your own luck in this game.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, 1v1, there's going to be some randomness because, like, none of those races, as we looked at when we were kind of doing the Z-Sim uh, simulations, running the 1v1s, it's like it's hard to have a horse that's got more than like 75% win rate over a large sample, maybe 70% even.
Right.
So Take of Boom was the first one. And this one was actually, if you remember from last week's show, or I guess it was the week before, we had our raffle, which we're going to do after this, the promotion for horses that we sold from our UUU sales stable for the last maiden. And we sold so many of them that we ended up giving out an extra prize. And this was the unraced horse prize that Bugsy's studs got from that raffle. And it ended up being the winner of that marathon funnel in class 2, pulled a 475 from two pretty solid pair. I mean, ridiculous marathon bloodlines. You got Ready, Set, Boom, Terms of Engagement, you've got Perfection, and then our horse Double Take is probably the least of the four. But yeah, they ended up winning 0.41 Ethereum. Always like to say the price of Ethereum somewhere around like, I don't know, 1750 US dollars right now. So they ended up winning a total of 0.41 ETH profit. And I think we sold, we had this one listed for like 0.15, delisted it and gave it away as that prize. So pretty fun that this was a raffle prize and ended up winning the marathon, huh?
Yeah, thank goodness you that Keith corrected you. You didn't give it to Bergie.
Right.
That'd have been tragic.
You did watch the show.
I watched that one. Oh yeah. No, but I mean, congrats to him. It's even, I don't know, it might even be cooler that it was just his random UUU prize and that brought it home. So happy he could do that. Especially may have to do that again this time because our first half of our maiden for this did not go well. So if the second half doesn't go well, we may have to reward our wheel winner with a UUU instead.
Right. We'll give them the option to choose from our UU stable, or if the prize money is not to their liking. I think we're sitting at like 0.01 winnings right now after the 1v1.
Hey, nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, we won a class 3 the first round and then lost. Everything else lost. Yeah. So the other winner here was Mortal Mayhem. And this one was actually an inbreed. Because I don't know if everybody knows this. Some people reached out to me asking about a couple of horses that we had listed that had Ready, Set, Boom on both sides. You can breed siblings together if they share the same father but not the same mother. So these were both Creation of Mortal's offspring here to create Mortal Mayhem. This one won 0.42 ETH total, or is sitting at that right now. I don't know exactly what it was after the maiden, but pretty nice horse here. I think we sold this one for 0.14, yeah, 0.11 ETH. So really nice purchase. It's already pretty much quadrupled their buy-in on this. Hit a 498. Just a really fun 1v1 horse here.
Yeah, that's a great level roll. So we'll see. I mean, let's see. They already have it listed as well. So it's like, oh, they had their fun. They're going to let somebody else take it over. I don't think it sells at 0.5, at least right now, but can't knock them for trying. The profit numbers look great. And
nothing's selling right now.
That's very true. Except on race, because all the money's in maidens.
Yeah. So I was just talking to Nettie about this because he did a couple breeds with us and they all turned out really well. From his stud, Cat Chen, I think it's pronounced, that variant stud that we had looked at like way back when.
We almost bought that horse, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think he bred Volatile Artist with it, the first maiden, ended up winning a good amount in that maiden and the Lucky Maiden, and then he sold that horse, and then we did Triumph for Hours, and I think that horse's name is Deposit, and that one did really well in the last maiden. And he's like, I can't even sell this for 0.5 ETH. I'm like, well, first of all, nobody's buying anything, and second of all, like all of the expected value right now is in the maidens. So it's like, yeah. It's really hard to sell anything on the secondary with the current state of ZED. There's no tournaments, but that's just kind of where we're at right now at this point in time. Hopefully, it's not like that way forever, right?
Yeah, I mean, like in theory, like there's no way Zed is successful if all the EV is just in these new breeds, right? I mean, so like in theory, there should be a buying opportunity to buy low on some of like those types that it seems like their expected value is entirely gone. But the problem is the sell side hasn't come down to that realization either. So you see, like, this is a good example where like 0.5 is probably a fair or even like slightly high value for this, even if they do reboost like class 2 tournaments or things like that. But if this horse was like somebody was totally tilted, all the expected value is gone because the Maiden's gone and sold it for like 0.1, then it could be a good buying opportunity. So there's a price for it, but it seems to be the trend in Zed that like people fire sale, but they think they're fire selling, but they're not actually at like a selling price. And there's always this big gap between buy side and sell side. I think that's present now more than ever.
What would you sell this one at if we owned it right now?
Let's see. It's an exclusive Colt. It's notably, well, no, Colts create an elite no matter what, but they said they might change that, right?
No, I don't think that's going to change unless you hit a super breed. You might be able to level up.
I thought he said he's trying to like equalize like the impacts of like there's a big discrepancy right now with exclusives. You really want the mare because that enables you to keep it at a mare. I thought he mentioned that he was going to try to do something to level that field between Colt and Philly, but maybe I'm just making that up. Either way, so let's pretend that it's not happening. That's
I haven't heard anything like that. I missed that if he said it.
Yeah, let me know in the comments, I guess. But I think with that, that's a ding. Probably 0.15, something like that. I think in the right fields, it's super high level, and in theory has good genes. But with 3.0, who the heck knows? Like, what is breeding elites even like right now? It's just like almost worthless. But once again, it doesn't mean like it's gonna be like forever. Zed has been known to flip the script on a dime many times. So I don't know, 0.15 sell, and then probably below 0.1 to buy.
Yeah, I mean, breeding elites is like worthless to us, but there's some value to somebody out there. You know, I think that's part of the beauty of Racing 2.0 and this whole system that's been created is like we don't want to go down to class 4, but that leaves it much safer for the new users that come in and new players to play down there in 6, 5, 4. So I don't know. I think somebody might want to want to breed into the elite level, right?
It's a top of class horse with good genes. Like it's worth something, but yeah, in the current meta, there's not much to do with it except go flip coins and head-to-heads.
You know, I think one of the major problems with a horse like this is the breed fees, the stud fees, like being so high for Nakamoto exclusives and elites. Right. That makes it a little bit silly to breed with exclusives in house. Maybe if it has really good blood, but they need to lower those, like Facundo kind of mentioned them doing on when he was on the last show, and then I think the value comes back on breeding elites.
Yeah, like as soon as because exclusives get what like 24. So if you actually make it where like this horse would be breedable to somebody like the fair market value maybe it's like 0.02, 0.03. If you could do that and even like then you're like okay, I'll do 0.03 24 times. That's 0.72, and then we get roughly half. So that's like a 0.36, 0.4 ish value over the long term if you're willing to like stick it out for 8 months. So then the value starts to come back. But like right now, it's just such a goose egg on these like breeding values that it makes it really hard to incorporate that in your valuation.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the good arguments that Keith kind of brought up in the breeding not being fun. It's like we got these like I think I brought it up too. We got these awesome legendaries. You got to pay the same amount as Genesis to breed them, and then the outcomes are not fun when you're breeding 2 championship horses together and you end up at the bottom of class 2. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, that seems to be like, I mean, you can see what I know. We use Zedge a lot for their breeding tool and projections, and like that is where they pop out the majority of the time. If you're hitting 2 really good horses together that aren't Genesis, I mean that's typically where they land.
Yeah, we should give Zedge a shout out for the breed genie tool. We used it a lot over the past, well, at least I think it was the past 2 maidens. I don't know, but obviously the proof is in the pudding. We kicked out some really nice horses that people won with in the 1v1. We'll see how we do in the winner take all, but it's going pretty well. It's fun to use.
It is fun. But yeah,
And
so
I saw Dan has a new I haven't looked at it that close, some sort of AI breeding tool that came out.
oh really? Was that like
Yeah.
over the last couple weeks?
I think it was yesterday. I think
It was very
yesterday.
good then.
We need to look at it closer. So yeah, some fun breeding stuff coming out.
Oh man. Yeah, that's give Dan some data and he's gonna come up with something fun. Like a mad scientist in it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I look forward to looking into that as well.
Okay, the last horse was Money and Free. So this was a legendary. I think we had this one listed for a long time, actually. This was listed last maiden. We didn't end up running it. Somebody bought it. It was one of the first horses we sold for this 1v1. Really good choice. Uh, Chalice, Live and Free's got some variants coming in on this side. Chalice doesn't have a whole lot, but both like slightly skew to the sprint side. They ran it at mid and turned out pretty well. They made it to the finals, made 0.28 ETH in that. This was a Colt. I think we sold it for 0.14 Ethereum. So it landed at 472. Pretty nice pull there. It's always nice when you get top of class 2 and not the bottom of class 1 in the current meta, right?
It is, especially with the maiden prize pools kind of luring you to class 2, even though like there's more competition there. But like that's where your big payday is, and that's how this horse made so much, even without winning the championship. But yeah, it's interesting they chose mid. I mean, I guess like the proof is in the results, but I like with it being a 2000 mid championship, I definitely would have leaned the 1400.
1400, right?
Just knowing the parents, but I mean, heck, what do I know? That's a second best horse in the maiden at 2000. So
Might have
maybe
won
a
the
little
sprint
luck there, but yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, might have beat Mortal Mayhem in the sprint final.
Yeah,
He
that
went
was
the other way. But yeah, nice horse that came out here. One of the other things that I talked to a little bit with Souls on last show that you haven't watched yet was breeding these stable bloodlines, and he brought up the fact that every time you breed, you lose some variance from the parents. So, breeding out these stable bloodlines, if you can hold that exclusive line and keep breeding stability into the horse, eventually you get a horse with like 0 variance and all base ability. That could be just a monster 1v1 horse, unbeatable type of thing. I
Yeah,
thought that was kind of an interesting approach, which a lot of these horses that we bred for this could be those type of building blocks that people are just totally overlooking. You get this one for 0.3, not an immediate return, like you said, right? But something for the future potentially.
yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it, and it's kind of how we've been treating any purchase we've made recently. Is like we're staying away for the most part from those consistent types because I think they're great right now in the 1v1s when they have the level advantage, but like in game when you're racing comparable levels, like those are the types that are going to be able to be bred, unless you have extreme DP on there. Like the mids with all base ability is going to be like a big bulk of the horses that are bred in 3.0 eventually. And once you get those level versus the same level, it's just a coin flip. You got to have something that's differentiating, whether it's like extreme DP or like we have a ton of the variance horses that just simply cannot be created unless it's a monster super breed right now that we haven't seen. So we've kind of anchored on those unicorns instead, but it's probably more profitable right now to just get those level advantaged horses and capitalize on the stability before there's a ton of those horses.
Yeah, it's an interesting meta that is forming, and I mean it's hard to see which direction it's going to go if the user base does grow, right? Like hopefully there's pockets where you can race all types of horses all the time. I mean there is right now, but it's just so slow at times, right? Hopefully everything's
Yeah.
popping off all the time in the future.
And it will be like when you have tournaments and things kind of stimulating the space, it absolutely will. I mean, paid racing right now, I'm honestly impressed it's held up as well as it has. I think that's a lot of it's due to like the grind and trying to keep ahead of other horses from a leveling perspective. Because I was afraid it was going to be like the dead period. People don't remember, but like there was a period, was it like May of 2021 when breeding was down for like months, and it was just the exact same horses, just like throwing money back and forth really for like a couple months until they re-implemented breeding at the end of June 2021. I thought it was going to be back to that dead zone, and that would have been tough with the current state of the economy. ZED kind of survived back then because it was still new. You're in a booming crypto economy, and as soon as they released breeding, it was able to bounce back. But that would be a much harder death sentence right now.
Well, and then there was another period too, just reminiscing here, when they turned on fatigue and they overdid it, right? And you could get, was it like one race every 24 hours or something like that?
It was like two, and then if you race a third, that was when you'd be down to like low 90s, and low 90s was actually different than 100%. So like you had this really negative emotion every time you race because you're like, well, there goes my day. Like I can't play anymore.
Yeah. Or the other thing that sticks out in my mind is when the queue times were at like 17, 18, 19 hours.
But that was interesting because like that showed the amount of demand, right? I think that was close to when they rebumped. I might be totally wrong, but I'm thinking that's when they rebumped the breeding, and there was all these new horses everybody wanted to run, and they still had the blockchain where like only one paid race could run in every like 30-second interval. So you just like kept stacking on, and you could do 3 at a time, but it would be like, all right, I've won 12 hours from now, I've won 17 hours from now. I think at one point it got close to like a day lag.
Yeah.
Some people liked it because you could kind of scope out like, all right, who was it beast at that point? Like Vanilla Beans in 3 races. I see them in the backlog, so now I'm good to run without it and take my class 4 horse out there. So like some people like that. If you did the research, there was a little bit of an edge, but yeah, forget that even happened. Wow.
Yeah, the good old days. I mean, there's got to be a documentary at some point on the early days of
I don't
ZED.
realize how smooth it is now. Like people just like FUD, but like, and like think about that as like they think of those days like fondly. Like you have no idea how like much of a headache it was when you would have 3 races, a massive queue, right? And at that point, it was legit like one of, I don't know, 6 races would get stuck where the race would run, but ZED would still think your horse was in that race. So you couldn't actually queue up races. And there were times like we had, I think it was probably Princess of Power would be completely jailed and people would rejoice, but like she would have 3 races stuck at once and you couldn't race her. It was literally like you're just totally benched. Like if that happened now, people would just riot.
People think of it with like fondly, as you said, because they like everything was so frothy, right? Like everything was worth so much. Like nobody was losing money, right? Which is not quite sustainable, is it?
if you time machine ZED and put that ZED right now, people would lose their mind and the game would die in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's kind of like breeding 2.0, and the people that like really hate breeding 3.0, at least in my mind, like the stud fees. This is not a fair comparison, right? It's like, oh, I was getting 1.5 Ethereum stud fees easy back in breeding 2.0, but that's like when we go back to 2021 and the period that we're talking about, and horse prices, like it wasn't sustainable, like those prices were already coming down. Like
right.
To use that as the argument for why, I mean,
right.
Not that there's not things wrong with 3.0, right? But
yeah, that would be, the valuations were just like, they would implode because that was back when they were stimulating the economy with, I mean, how much in prize money? It was like 100K a week, right? Something like that. So of course, when you take out 400K a month from the like what can be earned racing, of course, values are gonna implode from a breeding perspective. So like 2.0 with today's tournaments, it would just be a maiden play just like it is right now, and it wouldn't be really that different. It would just be, I guess, a little more concentration towards the top probably, and like you have the bloodlines and stuff. That's probably a totally different conversation, but you would not be getting those valuations at all right now.
Well, it's a good conversation though. Like I like to get on these tangents because like another part to it too is like the value of those high stud fees and those premium foals at the time was getting them early. So much of that value, like once you had an early one, there was more of an advantage. And that's why we didn't want to sell them early, because we wanted to have that blood stock to be able to breed them out. But once the more and more their supply there became, the less the rest of them became worth, right?
Yeah, that's right. Like, I mean, if you have more supply growth and demand is staying flat, like of course, yeah, values are going to go down, just like economics. So it was a unique case where like you had such low supply and demand was like flat or growing that it was just amazing from our perspective, but once again, not sustainable in the least. Not
And
to
then
say I favor 3.0, but I just think
right.
the 2.0 stands are a little flawed in their logic.
Yeah, because then as demand like was going down like significantly, the game was dying. You could see it, and all the middle class was being like snuffed out of ZED because there was no, you couldn't, the concentration of power was becoming worse and worse. So yeah, whole different conversation, but yeah, I think we're on the same page.
We need
Let's
to
do
call
our
Keith back in.
oh. Let's get Donkey Keith back in here.
That's right.
So we got to spin the wheel. I'm sharing the wrong screen. Let me share the wheel spin. So we're going to spin for 20% of our maiden wins. I think we got like 9 horses qualified for the winner take all. And these look like some good breeds. We got 2 RSB kids. We've got a third head publisher kid in class 1. So we got 3 class 1 horses. We've got some really nice Loves of Fantasy offspring in class 2. So I think we're going to have some good bullets here in winner take all. Knock on wood. Hopefully we win some money, and whoever wins this raffle doesn't want to take the UUU option, right?
That's right. Yeah. We can only go up, I guess, from the 0.01 we are currently sitting at.
I mean, last time we won, what was it? 1.4 or something like that. I don't know. The winner got 0.5, so it was like 2 point something that we got.
It was in the 2s, yeah.
Yeah, 2.5 or something like that. So ups and downs. We only sold 16. I say only. We sold 16, which was still good, but I think we sold 25 or something like that for the last maiden. So people pulled back a little bit for this one, which is interesting because we had a big prize pool. But good luck to everybody. Sorry.
I guess as you spin or whatever, the interesting thing about this one was with the winner take all, the freeze had money, right? So that was a little incentive as this finishes. And
Hesh
Stables.
Congrats, Hesh. Hesh Stables Racing LLC.
Oh,
mouthful.
That's going to be great for taxes. Your accountant must be thrilled.
But all right. Well,
congrats, man.
Yep. We'll try to do you well tonight in the maiden. But no, yeah. I think part of the reason, and I must have talked to the Souls about this last week, is that like it's going to be tough when these run and 5 of the 6 horses in every single race walk away with nothing. But you got to win some free money in those free races qualifying, right?
Right. Especially like that's why I liked what they did. Like the maiden prize pools are good, right? Like just assign that to the number of horses that are in each class. Like so, class 2 is going to be your biggest. That's perfectly fine. Aligning those incentives, but then like having in this case the free pots be more in class 1, I think was a nice touch to at least incentivize. Like, all right, you bred a better horse. So in this case, like, okay, 505 isn't so bad compared to like a 490 because at least you have 2x the profit, potential profit in the races that you're using to qualify.
And you also have like an automatic qualification in class 1 sprint and marathon. I don't even know if it's going to fill. I'm just looking at it right now, and there's only 24 sprinters in class 1 and 22 marathoners in class 1. So I don't think it's going to get to the 36. We've only got 2 hours left. That would be a heck of a streak. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to do as far as compensating those. I think we have 1 marathoner and 2 mids. So at least the mid's going to run. But
interesting.
Yeah, that's something to think about. Like, it's an $11,600 prize pool in class 1, and you get an automatic qualification in sprinting. They're going to do something to compensate those horses, I'm sure.
Yeah,
some sort of aid.
It just shows like how hard it is to get a specialist like in class 1. Because like if you look at mid is like 2x the size of those. So I mean, yeah, another edge, right? Like if you're looking and this thing is not going to fill, I don't know what they're going to do, but if you're a mid runner that's outside the top 30, 36, I think it is, just go run 5 races at 1,400. Maybe you win one, get some free cash, and then worst case is you just skunk yourself, but you get an automatic qualification into the bracket. Like, why not?
Yeah, I looked to see if we had any Genesis sprinters sitting around to breed earlier, and none of them were ready. So I was ready to just breed 3 of them and try to hit 1 or 2 in class 1 and get a free qualification.
Huh. Interesting.
Okay, let's do just a quick conversation on aging. So Facundo said, I think spring in the northern hemisphere for aging. So it's, I mean, I'll tell you what, it doesn't feel like spring where I'm at. Maybe he's waiting for the weather to turn up here.
Yeah, for me, being from Georgia, spring always starts when the Masters happens. So he's got 2 weeks for that. So maybe he's just using the Masters as his North Star.
Yeah, and I think there was he said something end of first quarter too. I don't know. But yeah, we'll give him a little bit of leeway, I guess. We're lenient here. We're pushovers on the show. Hopefully aging is coming very soon. Well, BG said on Twitter that it looks like it's coming very soon. Very cryptic, but his stuff like that is always about like something he sees in the code. So there must be something that changed out there regarding aging that makes him think like he thinks it could be any day now, like before next week. We'll see. They seem to like to launch updates on like Monday, right?
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's Monday mornings normally in Australia, which is like Sunday nights in the States. I'm an expert on time zones now. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Right. So it's 17 hours ahead.
Yeah.
Carry
Which
the
is really
3.
like 8 hours behind or 7 hours behind, depending on daylight savings. Yeah. But so I think Sunday night is typically like the go-to. If not, then maybe Monday nights. BG, if you asked him, maybe he thinks it'd be this weekend. I typically take the over in these forecasts. It has been right more than it's been wrong, but Facundo's had some unders under his belt, so who knows?
I mean, it could be they're waiting for the Maiden to end. They just don't do stuff on the weekends. Things don't come out on the weekend. Yeah,
it's setting their team up for just harassment on their weekend.
Right.
Because it's never going to open smoothly. Like, things always happen.
But whenever it comes, I mean, I'm surprised we don't have information on this yet. First of all, like it seems like they must have it solidified, like how it's going to work. If it's that close, like, can we get something in writing, like how it's actually going to work, so we can start processing it?
I think it's such an interesting spot right now, but like the market is just so stagnant at the moment because there's no way to evaluate horses right now without knowing like how long they're going to be able to race, right? It's such a key component of their value. If they come out and say you can only race 50 times, that's a totally different valuation for a horse. Not that they would do that. Then if they say like, all right, 5,000 races, and then you start to taper off a bit, like this is just such a key component. I think everybody just has this uncertainty and is just waiting for that knowledge to at least then make an educated purchase.
Yeah, it's just another piece of uncertainty added to this shocked market from Racing 2.0, Breeding 3.0 that has stunted everything. So I think it will be helpful to get clarity, and the market will then start digesting that, and hopefully people start buying stuff again. But on this topic, Kevin, what do you think is the right balance here between making the game playable for new horses and new users without nuking the top end value of all of our horses too hard?
Yeah, right. It's tough. It is a hard balance. Like I think valuations have to, like the top end ones have to be down. Like there's no really recovering from that. As soon as they announce there's going to be some kind of lifespan on racing, which is fine. You could argue that breeding values go up as a result, but from the racing side, it goes down. But you don't want to totally nerf the racing value, because then like what's the point of having a good horse if you can only race 10 times? I don't know. So I think the balance, they have a good system built with this stamina where they're not actually killing off a horse. It's like, I think Dan calls it like race decay or something like that, stamina decay. So I think they have it built well. You would think they're going to just like factor that down, whereas now it's a 3-hour recharge. You get 8 a day. Maybe the first phase is 4, and then it goes to like 2, and then 1 a day, 1 a week. I think the key is like you want the amount of fatigue and stamina and like lifespan to be reflected in the amount of grind it takes to get to the top of a class. Like you don't want it to be a death sentence anytime you get like 402. Like, oh, well, I have no chance of getting to the top because fatigue is or lifespan is too harsh, right? So it needs to be a balance of juicing up the amount of XP you get per race, and having that factored into the calculation of what is aging and how quickly does it occur. I think as long as they have it balanced where there's hope if you raise paids and maybe like above minimum paids to grind that low class horse, like the lower bottom of class horse to the top of that current class. I think that is what I'd be looking for. So maybe that's, I don't know, a couple months, maybe 3-4 months at like the current state. And then the next phase, you run for a month or two and then go on from there. I don't know if that's 500 races or 1,000 races. I think if it's more than 1,000, then you kind of get into the habit of like, well, that doesn't even feel like aging. Like these same horses are going to be dominating for 6 months from now. So it needs to probably be a little harsher than that. So I would say on a 500.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's going to be significant. I don't know if you saw Galactic. He tweeted out that his opinion was like horses need to age out in like 3 to 6 months, and Facundo responded to that and said it's coming soon. So,
oh, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know if we can kind of like reverse engineer that thought. If it's 3 to 6 months, like to like fully aged, it's going to be pretty aggressive.
Yeah, like what is fully aged? Like, is that a race a week? Is that a race a month? I think the way they have it set up, right? And he teased this on our show where it was you can wait to charge up the full time and then kind of just like rapid fire, and then you have to just wait like a month to get full again, which works with the tournament structure coming. So where it might be a good thing if you just bump it to where you get one stamina boost every 4 days, and then that's basically a full bar every month. And then you can do like one huge tournament a month. I don't think that's like a bad thing at full decay. But interesting. So 3 to 6 months, that seems in the window, I would say. And it's probably going to be levels to it where you have like some impacts at 3 and then maybe totally decayed out at 6.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's going to be consistent too. I mean, like again, it would be great to have the information so we can start digesting it. Like it sounded like one of the ways that it was explained early on was like halving. So like you can now race 8 races every 24 hours. It'll go down to 4 every 24 hours, and then it'll go down to 2 every 24 hours, kind of a thing. But I don't know if they scrapped that and are going to go some other direction too. But do you have any thoughts on like ways to bring value back to these horses as they do age? I mean, we kind of talked to Facundo about this on the second part of the interview with him, and I kind of threw out that idea of some sort of breeding boost. Do you like that? Do you have any other ideas for what might work?
I think it'd be cool. You could there's just so many things they can do, right? You could do a breeding boost like he teased. You could index the breeding boost based off of like what tier of rate of age decay are you. So you get like a little better. Then there'd be some strategy to like, I'm not going to breed right away with this horse because I only have so many breeds and I want most of those to be at the top tier. Or maybe it's like we make reaching age decay a milestone, right? Like if it's 500 races to reach tier 1 of decay, like that is an accomplishment. Maybe you add 3 breeds on top of what they currently have allotted, right? So like we would have, for example, like diamonds, right? Diamonds getting close to the expiring breed types. Make it a little like an achievement or an award to have some reinforcement rather than just having this negative, like, oh crap, I've aged. It could be, oh, I aged tier 1, but hey, now I get another cycle of diamonds breeds. That's cool. Things like that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Like there's so many negative feedback loops still in the game, even while they've made things better. So yeah, if you could make aging a net positive in our minds, where it's like, yes, I'm aging. I'm getting closer to the carrot that's out there.
It's the same thing as like classing up, right? Like nobody is classing up right now because there's no incentive to being in a higher class. But by having aging, something they could layer in a positive loop where, say you do your grinding all the way up to top of class 2, and you hit aging, right? So now you're just getting 1 race a day or whatever it is. But there's this carrot out, like, okay, you've gotten to class 2, the top of it, you can upgrade your horse, and that's going to take you back a level of age decay. So now you can go back to racing 2 times a day, or maybe you go all the way back to the 8 times a day for a little bit. You could easily do that, and now, boom, there's your incentives to class up, at least for a little bit. Because right now there's just none. But adding this new variable, I think, gives a lot of opportunity to change the game a little bit.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, I came up with this idea of having the biggest tournament of the year in Zed for only fully aged horses. And maybe that wouldn't work this year because there wouldn't be enough like fully aged, but maybe you go with like whatever age tier there's enough horses, and it's just like this is like the big stimulus tournament. So you want to be able to get into it, you have to be at that certain age level, and there's just all kinds of free money being given away, kind of a thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool. You do that, and you could do it, I mean, by class, so you're not like totally outclassed. You would think most fully aged horses, you would hope, if they were not just farming freeze, would be top of class, and maybe that's a way to reward those who grinded with paids, because you're going to level up higher than just like say 500 free races. So you have a higher level for that tournament. Yeah, I mean, I think it works. It's just kind of what direction do they want to take it?
Yeah, agreed. Any other thoughts here, or should we wrap it up?
No, I think we've rambled enough.
Yeah, hopefully we get some sort of like new news. There really wasn't a whole lot to talk about here, but it was good getting back on with you and just chatting about Zed and seeing your face. You're
Yeah,
alive. It's good
that's
to
right.
see you well.
I appreciate
Um,
that.
so yeah, hopefully we have an official announcement and we get some details on how aging is going to work before we record the show next week, and we can start to dive in on that. Otherwise, we'll just make up a bunch of other stuff to talk about.
We'll find content. We always do.
All right. Good luck to everybody out there in tonight's Maiden. And we will talk to you next week. I'll go follow Kevin on Twitter at Arbitrage Racing. No G. I'm at Zed Diamond Hands. Give us a like. Oh, Kevin, next Maiden, we got to do this custom race with the 6 UUU horses
Oh
and do
yeah.
the auction. We've got an Ready Set Boom Delicious Irony full just sitting around waiting as the prize for that event. We're going to do a live Twitch stream, make a whole big thing out of it. We'll see. It's going to be really fun to see how people like value that prize with like a 1 in 6 chance at winning it. Hopefully there's some FOMO built into our stream and event that gets people's excitement going.
Yeah, that should be pretty epic. We'll test everybody's loyalty, whether they caught that at the very end of our broadcast or not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that'll be
Start
interesting to see.
saving up. Start
That's
saving
right.
up.
Yep.
All right. We'll actually wrap it up. But yeah, follow or like and subscribe. Yes, like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow our Twitch channel. That's where we'll be doing that live. And I'll catch you next week, Kevin.
All right, man. See you.